What's good, people? Asian Juice reporting for duty. Today's video in speed paint is a bit of a twofer, or at least the speed paint is, but today's subject is specifically about Radical Edward from the legendary anime Cowboy Bebop. Because of last week's video of Bring Me to Ed, I've been on somewhat of an Ed Netty kick, so I thought it would be kind of funny to do a little speed paint of Cowboy Bebop done in the Ed Netty style. And so I'm doing a little scene where I'm doing a it's based on that one scene on that one episode of Ed Netty where they're making the Ed Sea Ranch and they're looking for sponges, and then Ed says that famous line,
"Shh, the walls have ears, Eddie."
And so that's the joke I'm making here. But that aside, I am here to talk about Radical Edward because Radical Edward is a very specific kind of character that I normally hate. But for some reason, Radical Edward is not a character I hate. Now, why is that? Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and buckle into our favorite spaceship. Let us go onto the internet. Let us hack satellites. Let us use our expertise to play chess and tickle the sacred buttons while we're doing it. And let's go ahead and figure out why Radical Edward works where other characters do not. Upon editing this video, I realized I never actually got to tell you what the character archetype is that I do not like. Specifically, in pertaining to Radical Edward, it is the crazy wackadoodle character that I tend to really hate. It's basically that whole lol so random thing that Radical Edward seems to represent. However, she does it in a particular way that I will eventually get into in this video. Because the fact that Cowboy Bebop has been talked to death, especially recently, given things that we will not get into, I'm not here to add any kind of new analysis to Cowboy Bebop because I feel it doesn't really need it, especially from someone like me. So I'm focusing specifically on Radical Edward, and I am here to sing her praises, as many people do about Cowboy Bebop, the anime in general. So why is it that Ed, who is a very specific type of character, doesn't annoy me? And before I get into it, I kind of have to establish the groundwork of not only who Ed is, but what Ed is as far as like a meta character. So in Cowboy Bebop, we first meet Ed a good 9 episodes into the 24 episode, or I think 26 episode season of Cowboy Bebop, where the plot is the crew of the Bebop learn that there's a bounty on someone hacking satellites and drawing alien pictures and whatnot into the surface of the Earth, and they dive into it only to come across this mysterious hacker known as Radical Edward. And of course the shtick is that nobody knows who this mysterious hacker is. Is it an alien? Is he a 7-foot tall basketball player or anything in between? And of course the twist is that Edward is in fact this weird, crazy little girl. She acts strangely. She talks strangely. She's goofy and wild. And of course, you know, the idea is that her bizarre head in the clouds kind of demeanor is juxtaposed to her insane prodigy level hacking abilities. So wild and wackadoodle is she that when she finally finds out that the reason why the satellites in that satellite episode are going haywire is because the AI of the satellite is feeling lonely. There's even this goofy scene where she's talking to the satellite and the satellite is telling the sad tale of how, you know, oh, I'm so lonely ever since the humans left planet Earth because it got blown up. Well, the moon got blown up because of a gate accident. But point is, I've been so lonely, which is why I'm drawing figures to keep myself preoccupied. And you know, the satellite is kind of telling a sad tale, and during this time you start hearing Ed's theme song while she's listening to it.
Long ago, long before the gate disaster, Earth was a beautiful planet where people lived in the hills and valleys and by the rivers, lakes, and seas.
I mean, like, can you imagine, if you will, you're trying to tell a sad tale of your life to Edward, and she's just sitting there just listening to it while her just bopping along to her theme song. You know, it would be like, when I was but a child, my family was butchered by barbarians. I had to spend my childhood wandering from world to world without purpose. But anyway, okay, yeah, so that is pretty goofy. But despite that, Edward is this strange head-in-the-clouds wackadoodle character, and yet she does not annoy me. So what exactly is she doing, or how is she written in a way that appeals to me as opposed to makes me angry? There is two major reasons. There is an in-universe reason and an out-of-universe reason. The in-universe reason as to why I not only tolerate but am endeared toward Edward is that not only is she goofy but also a genius, she is specifically helpful, particularly when it comes to the times in the plot to get to work and forward the mission. There's a specific episode where the crew is hunting down this particular bounty known as Chessmaster Hex, who has done this elaborate scheme where he's robbing people of their toll money, and they're trying to kind of get to the bottom of his whole deal, and the only thing they've been able to find is that he leaves these calling cards, which are chess pieces that are actually microchips that link into like a greater chess game, right? So there's a scene where Edward is the one who figures out that these little chippy dealy bops can be plugged into a computer and activate a chess game, and so now she's playing chess, right? So there's a scene where she's playing chess, and the rest of the Bebop crew are kind of talking amongst each other. It's like, oh, what's the connection? What's going on? What's going on here? And so they ask Ed, they say like, hey, Ed, what do you think of this? And so Ed kind of like, dismisses and goes, not right now, Ed's busy. And normally that would be annoying because the character is being purposefully obstructive, because like the character would be like going out of their way to kind of stop the plot from forwarding for the sake of being, I'm nutty. But right after that's said, Spike basically says, hey, Ed, we're having some trouble here. We need to find this chessmaster guy. And immediately Ed says, oh, well, guess what? Ed's playing against him. And they're all going like, oh, whoa, really? And so, yes, really, she's playing against Chessmaster Hex. Furthermore, when pressed about information of what's going on, she explains what's going on to them. And normally when Ed speaks, she likes to do her little funny rhymes, and she likes to sing, and she likes to do goofy nonsense.
Faye! Smoke, Faye! Puff, Faye!
My name's Faye, not Faye. You just say it once, okay?
Faye! Some weird mail came for Bebop.
But when it comes to saying the information, in that scene, she specifically spits out in plain English what's going on.
There it is. This is a memory cartridge for playing e-chess. The memory chip stores data within the piece. Yeah, you can activate one game. It connects to the net. See?
So as you can see, she's weird, but essentially she's only weird on her own time. When it comes time to work, she's actually really good at, getting to work. So I think that's a big part of what makes her not annoying, is that she's helpful. She's not obstructive.
Aww.
Quit whining.
All right.
Now, the second major reason, number 2, is the out-of-universe reason, as in like the meta writing. Ed, for lack of a better term, is really good at staying in her lane. Now, what do I mean by that? You'll notice that, barring the episodes that focus around her, she is not a big focal point in the show. She actually gets kind of sparse screen time. Very much so to the point where I kind of wouldn't mind seeing a little more of her, but I think it's good that they showed her only in small doses given who she is versus the overall tone of Cowboy Bebop. Because what makes Cowboy Bebop so great is that it has a much more somber tone, because the other 3 main characters, who are Spike, Jet, and Faye, they all have kind of a, if you will, a dark, edgy past, right? Where they've all come from lives that have scarred them in some way, and they're all, in one way, shape, or form, almost running away from something. So there's always an undercurrent throughout Cowboy Bebop of that dark, shady nonsense kind of rearing its ugly head in pieces. And because Ed herself doesn't have something that deep and dark, it seems to me like the writers felt like there was no need to put her on screen too often, because there wasn't a lot to explore in that tone. Now, don't get me wrong, Ed's backstory is kind of interesting because she was seemingly orphaned. She grew up in an orphanage and then ran away from the orphanage and kind of did her own thing and then ended up on the Bebop. And then, of course, at the end, we learned she actually had a father who dropped her off at a daycare center and like forgot about her or something goofy, something weird like that. But the point is that clearly, like, I mean, yeah, being forgotten by her parent is sad and everything, but it doesn't have the same tonal weight, or at least it's not presented with the same tonal weight as the other characters. So it seems like that there wasn't a need to put Ed on screen too much and really have her overshine the other characters. And so because of that, we only see her weirdness in the short doses. And even then, she's only weird on her downtime. And when it comes to getting to work, she's really good at snapping out of it and you know, getting work done. I think ultimately, the long and short of this is that I like Ed, despite being one of these weird head in the clouds characters, is because she's written well. I mean, that's it. I like her because she's a well-written character in a well-written show. So I know that's not a big of a shock. Well, what's great about her is that her traits that make her unique and nutty do not obstruct what Cowboy Bebop is meant to be, which is this semi-serialized show about characters who have baggage, who are essentially trying to avoid their baggage by becoming bounty hunters. She's an odd one out, most definitely in the show. So in order for her to not stick out and rub people the wrong way, she was written in such a way that she can have her goofy moments, and you know the crew can kind of look at her going like, oh, there's Ed doing Ed stuff, but it's only in slower parts of the show, the valleys, if you will. Instead of the peaks of like the actual plot. And when it comes to the peaks of the actual plot where things need to get done and Ed is involved, she ultimately is helpful. She's actually doing her job to the point where there are actually parts in the show where I was wondering why the Bebop crew didn't use her more. Like there are times where computer this and hacking that comes up, and I'm left asking, hey guys, you got the weird computer girl right there. You know, ask for her help. She has a track record of proving that when time comes to work, she can get to work. So it's not like she's going to blow you off or anything. You know, I found that kind of interesting. So here I am rooting for a character archetype that normally I abhor. But I guess the long and short of it is that it just goes to show you that Cowboy Bebop is a well-written show. Radical Edward is a well-written character, and even character archetypes that one would normally hate, if written correctly, can turn into characters that you love instead. So that being said, I wouldn't mind seeing other character archetypes that I hate be written well and make me change my mind about it. Anyway, I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up there for today. So I thank you people for spending this time with me and watching this here video. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think of Bebop or Edward, or the fact that I'm drawing this in Ed, Edd n Eddy style, even though Ed, Edd n Eddy didn't really come up in this video that much. If you want to follow me elsewhere, please stalk my other media links here up on the screen. And with all that said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I do hope you all stick around. And until next time, space cowboys and space cowgirls, bang. And also deuces.